All right, let's trade in those winter coats for some swimsuits because today we are diving deep into Thailand's islands.
Oh, yeah. All 1,400 plus of them.
You said 1,400.
You heard right. And today we've got articles, guidebooks, even a travel vlog, all to help you guys plan your own Thailand island adventure.
Whoa, 1,400 islands. That's a bit overwhelming. Where do we even begin?
Well, good news. Instead of trying to wrap your head around 1,400 different islands right away, the first step is to choose the right sea.
Okay.
Thailand's islands are split between the Andaman Sea on the west coast and the Gulf of Thailand on the east.
Okay.
And each of those offers like a totally different experience.
I like that.
Like choosing your adventure's theme.
Like from the start.
Yeah.
Okay, help me visualize this. What's the main difference between the Andaman Sea and the Gulf of Thailand?
Okay, so picture this. Towering limestone cliffs that just shoot straight up out of the water, hidden lagoons, lush jungle meeting the white sand beaches.
Okay.
That's the Andaman Sea. It's got that like dramatic, almost like otherworldly beauty.
I can see why that's so popular.
Definitely.
What about the Gulf of Thailand? What's the vibe there?
The Gulf of Thailand is much more laid back. The waters are calmer, the islands tend to be flatter, and there's a stronger sense of traditional Thai culture. It's less about the, dramatic scenery and more about soaking in the local way of life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're not just choosing an island, you're choosing like an entire mood, an entire experience.
Exactly.
So if someone told you, hey, I've got 1 week in Thailand, which sea would you tell them to pick?
I'd ask them about their energy level. Are they the type of person who wants to pack their days with activities, boat trips, exploring? Then Andaman might be a better fit.
Right.
But if they're more about relaxation, a slower pace, more time spent chilling on the beach, maybe trying some local cuisine, that's where the Gulf of Thailand really shines.
Okay. I like it, matching the sea to your travel personality.
Yeah.
Now let's get down to some specifics.
Right.
One of our sources broke the islands down by region. Should we start with the Andaman Sea since we were just talking about it?
Yeah, sounds good. And we can't talk about the Andaman without mentioning Phuket and Krabi.
Right.
Probably the most well-known spots in Thailand.
Yeah. Phuket's got that international airport, right?
Exactly.
So it's super easy to get to.
Yeah, direct flights from all over the world, making it the perfect spot if you're only there for a short time. And Phuket itself has such a variety of beaches. You've got Patong, which is like the party central. It's known for its nightlife.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've also got quieter spots like Mai Khao or Kamala if you want something more relaxed.
Right. A little bit of something for everyone.
Totally.
Our sources mentioned the crowds in Phuket, though.
Yeah.
What if our listeners looking for that, classic Andaman beauty, but without tons of tourists?
Then Krabi is going to be the perfect spot.
Okay.
It's actually on the mainland, but it's considered the gateway to some really incredible islands and hidden spots. One that really stands out is Railay Bay.
Oh, I've heard of Railay. Why is that so special?
It's not technically an island, it's a peninsula, but it's cut off from the mainland by these dramatic limestone cliffs.
Okay.
So the only way to get there is by boat.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. You get that like isolated island feel, but with easier access to the mainland.
And it has all that scenery, all that dramatic scenery
Oh,
that
absolutely.
you're talking about.
Yeah, and actually our travelers vlog has some pretty incredible footage of Railay. You can just picture yourself kayaking through these turquoise waters.
Definitely adding that to my bucket list.
Good choice.
The articles also mentioned Koh Phangan. What's the deal with Koh Phangan?
Koh Phangan is like the picture-perfect island. White sand, crystal clear water, like perfect for snorkeling.
Yeah.
And it's often visited just as a day trip from Krabi or Railay. It's manageable even if you don't have a ton of time.
Perfect for like a quick dose of paradise.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got Phuket for the variety and the accessibility,
Mm-hmm.
Krabi for its mainland convenience, and access to places like Railay,
Yeah.
Koh Phangan for that picture-perfect day trip.
Perfect.
Now, one of our sources called the Trang Islands the best-kept secret of the Andaman.
Ooh, interesting.
Why are they so under the radar?
It all comes down to location. They're further south, and the airport isn't as convenient as, Phuket's. Fewer flights means fewer tourists.
Yeah, so it's the journey that kind of keeps the crowds away.
Exactly.
Which Trang Islands should we highlight for our listeners?
Koh Phangan is a must-see.
Okay.
It's got powdery white sand, shallow, clear water, and it's got a sense of tranquility that's really hard to find on the more popular islands.
Mm.
In fact, the vlog, we have even mentioned that there's a sea turtle sanctuary nearby.
Sounds incredible.
It is.
Any other Trang gems we should know about?
Yeah, Kulabong is less developed. It's got these mangrove forests, a slower pace of life. And then there's Koh Mook, which is home to the Emerald Cave.
Emerald Cave? I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's famous for a reason. You have to swim through like this narrow tunnel in a limestone cliff to get to this hidden lagoon that has a beach inside of it. It's straight out of an adventure movie.
Yeah, okay. The Trang Islands are officially on my list.
Good choice.
So we've got Phuket, Krabi, Koh Phangan, the Trang Islands. I think we've got the Andaman Sea pretty well covered.
I think so.
Now let's switch gears a little bit
Oh, yes,
and
okay.
explore some highlights from the Gulf of Thailand.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I know less about this side.
Okay, well, the major islands there are Koh Samui, Koh Phangan, and Koh Tao.
Okay.
Those are like the big three.
Okay, so Koh Samui, is that all luxury resorts and fancy spas, or is there more to it than that?
It's got both, actually. You'll find the luxury resorts in areas like Chaweng, but there's also these quieter fishing villages, local markets, a more traditional feel in places like Nathon. Koh Samui offers like a nice balance.
So options for everyone.
Yeah.
I can't talk about the Gulf of Thailand without mentioning the full moon parties on Koh Phangan, right?
Oh, yeah, how could you forget those?
Yeah. Are they really as crazy as everyone says?
Oh, 100%. But, Koh Phangan has more to offer than just parties. There are stunning beaches, hidden coves, yoga retreats. It's a very diverse island.
Yeah, it's good to know that even if you're not into the party scene, there's still a reason to check it out.
Definitely.
What about Koh Tao? What's special about that one?
Koh Tao is a diver's paradise. It's actually one of the cheapest and most accessible places in the world to get potty certified.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the underwater scenery is incredible. Colorful coral reefs, tons of different fish. You might even see a whale shark.
Okay, Koh Tao is sounding more and more appealing with every word you say.
It's beautiful.
So got Koh Samui for a mix of experience, Koh Phangan for the beaches and, yes, the parties, and Koh Tao for the underwater world. Are we missing any Gulf of Thailand gems?
One more spot I want to mention is the Trat Islands.
Okay, tell me more about the Trat Islands.
They're actually much closer to Bangkok than any of the other islands we've talked about,
Okay.
which makes them a perfect spot for a shorter trip.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the vibe like there?
Well, Koh Chang is the largest and most developed. There you'll find beaches, rainforest, waterfalls to explore. It's a good intro to the islands.
Okay, and if someone wants to go beyond Koh Chang, where do they go?
Koh Kood is your spot.
Okay.
It's known for its luxury resorts, pristine, undeveloped beaches. Definitely a bit pricier, but worth it if you're looking for something secluded and high-end.
Yeah, like a splurge island.
Exactly.
What about the opposite? What if we want like a true off-the-beaten-path adventure in the Trat Islands?
For that, you're going to want to head to Kauai.
Kauai, okay.
It's tiny, undeveloped, just a handful of basic bungalows, no ATMs, very limited electricity.
Wow, that's a digital detox for sure.
Yeah, you'll be off the grid.
What about the in-between? If someone wants something between Koh Chang and Kauai, where do they go?
Koh Mak is a great choice.
Koh Mak.
Yep, it's still small and peaceful, but it's got enough infrastructure and amenities to make you comfortable.
Okay, so the Trat Islands really do offer a range of experiences, from the developed to the completely undeveloped.
Yeah, for sure.
From luxury to very budget-friendly.
Yep. Okay. So anything else you want to cover?
Is there anywhere else we need to hit on our island tour?
One more spot on the Andaman side.
Okay.
We got to talk about Koh Lipe. This one's kind of controversial.
Ooh, I love a good travel debate. Lay it on me. Why is Koh Lipe so controversial?
Well, it's known for having some of the most beautiful beaches in all of Thailand, but it's gotten super popular in recent years. Some people think it's just too crowded and overdeveloped.
Okay, so is it still worth visiting, or are those concerns valid?
It's definitely still gorgeous, and the island itself has been implementing these like ecotourism practices to reduce the impact of all the tourists.
So that's good.
Yeah, like they banned plastic bags completely, and they're really working on waste management and coral reef protection.
Okay, good to know. Any Koh Lipe highlights we should mention?
Besides the beaches themselves, check out Koh Adang. It's right next door. And it has these amazing hiking trails that lead to these panoramic viewpoints.
Okay.
The view from up there overlooking the water and all the surrounding islands is something you won't forget.
So Koh Lipe, potentially crowded but beautiful, with a focus on sustainability. And then right next door, Koh Dong for the views.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of islands, but I know Thailand has more to offer than just the famous ones.
Right.
What about those lesser-known spots? What about some hidden gems?
You're right. There's a whole world beyond those like top 10 lists.
Okay.
For example, if you happen to be in Pattaya and you want a quick escape, Koh Larn's just a short ferry ride away.
Koh Larn, what's that one like?
Yeah, it's got those classic Thai beaches, clear water, great for swimming and snorkeling. It's pretty small, though,
Okay,
so it can get crowded, especially on the weekends. It's more about convenience than like a secluded escape.
got it.
Yeah. Another good one is Koh Samui.
Okay.
It's close to Bangkok and really easy to get to, making it a perfect spot for a weekend getaway. The beaches aren't like the best in Thailand, but if you're short on time, you want that island vibe, it's a good choice.
I can see what convenience would be a factor for a lot of people.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got Koh Larn, Koh Summit. What about something completely different?
Oh, okay.
What about something that's not even an island?
This is going to sound like a curveball,
Okay.
but if you want a completely different experience, you got to check out Khao Sok National Park.
Oh, wow.
It's on the mainland. It's a rainforest. It's got these towering limestone cliffs, hidden caves, a stunning lake where you can kayak and swim.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah, you can go jungle trekking, spot wildlife, stay in these floating bungalows. It's a completely unique experience.
I love that we're including something a little unexpected.
Yeah.
So we've got Koh Larn for a quick escape from Bakia,
Mm-hmm.
Koh Samet for its proximity to Bangkok,
Mm-hmm.
and Khao Sok for those who want a true adventure in the rainforest.
Love it.
Now, before we get carried away planning our dream itinerary,
Oh.
let's talk logistics.
All right.
What's the main way to get around to all of these islands?
Ferries.
I figured there'd be some boat travel involved.
They're the lifeline of Thailand's islands.
Okay, so ferries. Anything our listeners should know? Any tips or tricks when it comes to using the ferries?
Yeah, I'd say the number one thing is book your tickets in advance,
Okay.
especially during high season or around events like the full moon parties. They fill up quick. You don't want to be stuck.
Right.
And also know that there are different types of ferries. You've got your basic slow boat, your high-speed catamarans.
Okay.
The slow boats are the cheapest, but they can take hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're short on time or you're prone to seasickness, maybe spend the extra money and take the high speed.
So you got to choose wisely. Factor in your budget and your time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we got ferries between islands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about getting around once you're actually on an island?
You'll have a few options. Songthas are those red pickup trucks with benches in the back. Those are super common, affordable.
I feel like those are like a classic Thailand experience.
Yeah, for sure. Then there's tuk-tuks, which are always fun, but be prepared to haggle for the price. It's like part of the experience.
Haggling's part of the adventure, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what about motorbikes?
Super popular, give you lots of freedom to explore at your own pace. Just a heads up. Most rental companies will ask to hold on to your passport as a deposit.
Your passport.
Yeah, standard practice.
Right.
But can be a little unsettling for first-timers. Just make sure you rent from a reputable company, and you'll get it back when you return the bike in good condition.
Right. Good advice.
So any other questions about navigating these islands?
I think we covered a lot of great information here.
Yeah,
I think we laid a really good foundation for our listeners to explore Thailand's islands.
for sure.
What's next on our deep dive?
Well, in part 2, we're going to take all of this info and actually help our listeners craft their perfect itinerary. Whether they've got 1 week, 2 weeks, or even longer, we're going to make sure they make the most of their time.
Perfect. Can't wait.
All right.
Until then, happy travels, everyone.
Yeah, happy travels.
Okay, so we spent part 1 exploring the Andaman Sea and the Gulf of Thailand.
We even ventured into the rainforest with Khao Sok.
Yeah, we did.
That's right.
Now, it's time for the fun part.
All
We
right.
get to actually plan a trip.
Yes. In part 1, it was all about discovery.
Mhm.
Now, we're going to put on our travel agent hats and help you guys build the perfect Thailand island itinerary.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's make this real for our listeners. Let's say someone has 1 week in Thailand and their flight lands in Phuket.
Okay.
What are some logical island combinations they could make? Keeping in mind that travel time between the islands does take up a good chunk of the day.
Right. We don't want our listeners spending their whole vacation on a ferry.
Exactly. So with a week in Phuket, I'd suggest sticking to the Andaman Sea. Trying to squeeze in the Gulf of Thailand, too, would just be too much travel, not enough relaxation.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're staying on the West Coast. What's a good 1-week itinerary that starts in Phuket?
I'd say spend a couple nights in Phuket to get acclimated, just get a taste of that, vibrant island life.
Okay.
And then head up to Krabi for a few days.
Yeah.
You can explore Railay Bay, maybe do a day trip to Koh Phangan.
That sounds like a great mix.
Yeah,
A little bit of the busy, a little bit of the serene.
exactly.
What if our listener wants to skip the crowds altogether?
Okay.
Is there a less visited itinerary that still makes sense for a 1-week trip?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Trang Islands are the perfect alternative to Phuket and Krabi if you want something a little more off the beaten path.
We talked about how they're a little harder to get to, though. Is
Yeah.
that even doable in a week?
It's a little tight, but you can make it work.
Okay.
I would suggest flying directly into Trang Airport and then going straight to Koh Phangan.
Okay.
You could easily spend like 3 or 4 nights there,
Yeah.
enjoying the beaches, maybe doing some snorkeling or kayaking.
You mentioned Koh Labong and Koh Mook. Would there be time for those in this itinerary?
Yeah, you could definitely squeeze in a day trip to Koh Mook to see the Emerald Cave.
Okay.
Koh Labong's a bit further out, so that really depends on how much travel time you're willing to deal with. Maybe save that for a longer trip.
Okay, yeah, good point. So we've got our 2 very different 1-week itineraries.
Yeah.
One sticking to the classic Andaman route with Phuket and Krabi, the other venturing off to the Trang Islands. I have a feeling budget might be a deciding factor for some people.
Right.
How do those 2 options compare cost-wise?
Phuket and Krabi tend to be a bit more expensive than the Trang Islands just because more development usually means higher prices, especially when it comes to accommodations.
Okay, so if you're on a budget, Trang Islands are the way to go.
Exactly. You can find some incredible guest houses and bungalows in Trang for a fraction of what you'd pay for a resort in Phuket or Krabi.
That makes sense.
Plus, there's less temptation to spend money on like organized tours or, fancy restaurants.
Right.
You can really have an amazing time just relaxing on the beach, swimming, snorkeling, enjoying the local food.
Which, let's be honest, is the best part of any Thailand trip.
For sure. And don't forget, even getting to the Trang Islands is an adventure in itself.
Yeah.
You're going to be taking ferries, maybe even a songthaw, one of those red pickup trucks that act as shared taxis.
Right.
It's all part of the experience.
I love it.
Okay, so we got a week figured out.
Yeah.
What if our listeners got 2 weeks?
Ooh, 2 weeks.
Does that change things?
2 weeks opens up a lot more possibilities, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. You could spend a week in each region,
Okay.
a week in the Andaman, a week in the Gulf, or you could go really deep into one area.
Okay.
It really just depends on what our listeners are looking for.
I'm all about maximizing the experience, so I'm leaning towards combining the 2 regions.
Okay.
Is that even logistically feasible? Or would we just be spending all our time in transit?
I mean, it's definitely doable, but you got to plan it carefully and choose the right islands.
Okay.
You probably need to factor in a domestic flight to get from one coast to the other.
Here. All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's plan the ultimate 2-week itinerary.
Okay, let's start in Bangkok.
Okay.
It's the gateway to Thailand for most international travelers.
Right.
It's an experience in itself. Spend 2 nights there,
Okay.
soaking up the energy of the city, exploring temples, markets, rooftop bars.
I'm already picturing myself with a cocktail overlooking the city.
Perfect.
Okay, after Bangkok, where do we fly to?
Let's head south to the Andaman Sea.
Okay.
I think Krabi's a perfect starting point.
Oh.
It's got that stunning scenery we talked about, and it's easy to get to other islands from there.
So we spend a few days in Krabi, explore Railay Bay, maybe do that day trip to Koh Phangan.
Sounds good.
Okay, and then?
And then, here's where it gets fun. We're going to hop on a ferry and head south to Koh Lipe.
Koh Lipe, the one with the crowds but the beautiful beaches.
The one and only. We talked about how it's gotten a bit more developed, touristy, but it's still a pretty special place. And remember, they're really trying to promote sustainable tourism there.
Right, so we can feel good about supporting their efforts.
Exactly.
Okay, how long do we stay in Koh Lipe?
I'd say 3 or 4 nights.
Okay.
That's plenty of time to relax on those beaches, explore some nearby islands, maybe even do a day trip to Koh Adong
Okay.
for those viewpoints.
Right, get those iconic photos.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's about a week on the Andaman side.
Yep.
Time to head to the Gulf.
Time to fly back to the mainland and head over to the Gulf of Thailand.
All right, finally getting to experience the other side.
Yes.
Which Gulf Island are we hitting first?
Let's start with Koh Samui.
Koh Samui, okay.
It's got that like classic Thai island vibe. Palm-fringed beaches, crystal clear water, a good mix of activities. You could spend a few days exploring those beaches, maybe check out the big Buddha statue, have some amazing Thai food.
I'm already craving pad Thai and mango sticky rice just thinking about it.
It's so good.
Okay, after Koh Samui, where does our grand finale take place?
Koh Tao, of course.
Koh Tao, okay.
The perfect way to end our trip.
So even if you're not a certified diver, you can still experience Koh Tao's underwater world.
Yeah, you can go snorkeling, do some boat trips.
Okay.
There's plenty of beautiful beaches just to relax on. Koh Tao's got something for everyone.
This 2-week itinerary is sounding pretty incredible, but I'm guessing it's going to be pricier than those 1-week options we talked about.
Yeah, definitely.
With the flights and more ferry travel.
Yeah, combining both regions does come with a higher price tag, but there are still ways to keep the costs down if you're on a budget.
Give us those travel hacks. What are they?
Okay, first, consider traveling during the shoulder seasons, so like April, May, or September, October.
Okay.
The weather's still nice, but the crowds are smaller and prices are usually a bit lower.
That makes sense.
Another big expense is accommodation. You can find budget-friendly guest houses and hostels on pretty much every island.
Okay.
And of course, eat like a local
Right.
street food in Thailand is amazing.
It is.
And it's super affordable.
Okay, so we've got 1 week, 2 weeks.
Yep.
What if our listener has even more time? Like, let's say a month.
Wow.
A month. Would that even be too much time in Thailand?
A month in Thailand, never.
That's the dream.
Right, that gives you the freedom to really immerse yourself in the culture, explore those less visited islands, maybe spend some time on the mainland.
All right, let's go all out.
Yeah.
What does the ultimate month-long Thailand adventure look like?
All right, well, we're still starting with those 2 nights in Bangkok.
Okay.
But instead of flying south, this time we're going north.
Who do you
find me? Chiang Mai, okay. Yes. Chiang Mai is like the cultural heart of Thailand.
Okay.
It's surrounded by mountains. It's got these incredible temples, vibrant markets, a much more laid-back feel than Bangkok. You could easily spend a week there.
Okay, so we're adding a little cultural element to our month-long trip.
Yes.
After Chiang Mai, do we finally get to head to the islands?
Oh, yeah, we're going to the islands.
Okay.
But with a whole month, we can really savor that island life.
Okay.
We're going to start with a week in the Trang Islands, hopping between Koh Krabi, Koh Mook,
Okay.
maybe even adding in Koh Laban this time.
Okay.
Then we're going to head back up to Krabi.
Okay.
A few days to experience Railay Bay and Koh Pota.
Mm-hmm.
And to round out our Andaman adventure, we're going to spend a week on Koh Lanta.
Koh Lanta. We haven't talked about that one.
No, we haven't.
What's special about Koh Lanta?
It's kind of a hidden gem.
Okay.
It's bigger than some of the other islands we've talked about, so there's a wider variety of beaches, everything from lively spots to the secluded coves.
Okay.
It's known for its laid-back atmosphere, and its sunsets are incredible.
Wow.
It's the perfect place just to unwind.
Yeah, okay, so that's Bangkok, Chiang Mai, 2.5 weeks in the Andaman Sea. Where does the Gulf of Thailand fit into all of this?
We can't leave out the Gulf.
Right.
With a month, we have the luxury of dedicating a whole week to it.
Okay.
So we'll start with a few days in Koh Samui,
Okay.
experiencing those beaches, maybe the nightlife in Chaweng.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll hop over to Koh Phangan.
Okay.
Maybe time our visit to coincide with the full moon party.
Yeah.
Even if you're not into partying, it's an experience just to witness.
Yeah, and who knows?
Right.
Maybe we'll find a secluded beach or a yoga retreat far from the crowds.
Exactly.
To round out our Gulf of Thailand adventure, where do we end up?
A few days on Koh Tao, of course.
Okay.
Diving, snorkeling, relaxing on those beaches.
Oops.
Perfect way to end our trip.
I am exhausted just thinking about all that travel,
It's a lot.
but in a good way.
The best kind of exhausted.
We've covered so much ground.
We have.
Is there anything else our listeners should keep in mind as they're planning their trip?
Yeah, I mean, research is important, but don't overthink it.
Okay.
Sometimes the best travel experiences happen when you least expect them.
So embrace the unexpected, be open to new experiences.
Yeah.
Let Thailand surprise you.
Exactly. You know, maybe you stumble upon a hidden food stall with the best pad thai you've ever tasted, or you meet a local who invites you to their village festival.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that make travel truly special.
Those are the moments we remember.
Yeah.
Well said.
All right.
I think we equipped our listeners with enough itinerary inspiration
I think so.
to last a lifetime.
Maybe even 2 lifetimes.
What's next on our deep dive?
Well, in part 3, we're going to get into the practicalities. Visas, transportation, cultural etiquette, tips for traveling responsibly.
Hey.
Everything you need to know to navigate Thailand like a pro.
Love it. Can't wait. Until then, safe travels, everyone.
Safe travel.
Okay, so we've explored all these amazing islands.
We've planned our dream itineraries.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty details, the practical stuff.
Right. Let's swap the daydreams for an actual packing list.
Okay.
What's first on the agenda?
Visas.
Okay, visas.
Yeah, the good news is for a lot of nationalities, including US, Canada, Australia, most of Europe, you can actually enter Thailand without a visa.
Okay.
For tourism purposes for up to 30 days.
So if you're planning a shorter trip, like one of those 1 or 2 week itineraries we talked about,
Yep.
you're good to go.
You don't have to worry about it.
What about those digital nomads who might want to stay a little longer?
Thailand has a ton of visa options for longer stays.
Okay.
Things like work visas, retirement visas. It's always best to check the latest regulations and requirements, though, on the official Thai embassy website
Mm.
before you go,
Yeah.
because things can change.
Always good to double check. Okay, so you've got your visa sorted. How do you actually get to all these amazing islands? We talked about ferries being the main way to get around, but I'm sure there's some things our listeners should know about using them.
Yeah, a couple things to keep in mind. First and foremost, book your tickets in advance, especially during peak season or around big events like, the full moon party.
Right.
Ferries can fill up fast.
You don't want to be stuck on the mainland?
No, definitely not.
Okay, pre-booking is key.
Yeah, especially if you've got a tight itinerary. And, when you're looking at those ferry options, you'll see that there are different types, everything from those basic slow boats to high-speed catamarans.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of those.
Yeah, the slow boats are definitely the cheapest, but they can take several hours.
Right.
So if you're short on time or you get seasick easily, might be worth it to just, spend the extra money for the high speed.
So choose your ferry wisely,
Yes.
factor in your budget, factor in how much time you have.
Exactly.
Okay, now once you're actually on an island, how do you get around?
We talked about the song Thos, those red pickup trucks with the benches.
Yeah, those are great.
Super common.
I love those.
Yeah, affordable way to get around, especially on those larger islands. And then you've got your tuk-tuks, which are always a fun experience.
Yeah.
But, be prepared to haggle on the price.
Right, that's part of the fun.
Exactly. It's part of the cultural exchange.
And then, of course, we can't forget about motorbikes.
Motorbikes are everywhere.
Yeah.
They're a great way to, explore on your own time, discover those little hidden spots. Just remember that you do need an international driving permit. Helmets are mandatory.
Okay.
And as we mentioned earlier, they might ask to hold on to your passport as a deposit.
Okay, yeah, good reminder.
Just make sure you rent from a reputable company.
Right, you get that passport back when you return the bike.
No problem.
All right, so we covered visas, ferries, getting around the islands. What about cultural etiquette? Thailand's known for its friendly people, its hospitality, but are there any customs or traditions that we should be aware of to make sure we're being respectful?
Yeah, Thailand is often called the land of smiles for a reason.
Right.
They're very welcoming, but there are, of course, cultural differences.
Okay.
So one important one is the way.
The way.
It's a slight bow with your palms pressed together.
Okay.
It's a sign of respect. You use it as a greeting, as a thank you, an apology.
Okay, so way for respect.
Yep.
Now, temples,
Okay.
those are a must-see in Thailand.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's a specific etiquette for visiting them.
Right. Temples are sacred spaces, so dressing modestly is really important. Shoulders and knees should be covered. Now, a lot of temples will provide sarongs or shawls for visitors who aren't dressed appropriately, but it's best to just be prepared.
Okay, good to know.
And always remove your shoes before entering a temple. Avoid pointing your feet at Buddha images.
Okay.
Speak softly. Be mindful of your behavior.
Right, it's a place of worship.
Exactly.
We can't talk about Thailand without talking about the food.
The food is incredible.
Right. Any cultural tips for navigating, all the delicious cuisine?
Yeah, food is a huge part of Thai culture, and meals are very much like a shared experience.
Right.
It's polite to order several dishes, share everything family style. You'll usually get a serving spoon to kind of transfer food to your own plate.
Okay.
And when it comes to eating, chopsticks are usually for noodle dishes and a spoon and fork for pretty much everything else.
I'm going to need to practice my chopstick skills.
You'll get it.
What about tipping?
Tipping isn't as common in Thailand as it is in some other countries, but it's always appreciated for good service.
Okay.
10% is usually enough at restaurants, and you can just round up the fare for taxi drivers.
Okay, good to know. Okay, what about scams? We've all heard those stories about tourist traps and things like that.
Right.
Any advice for staying safe, avoiding those situations?
Best advice, be aware of your surroundings, use common sense. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
Be wary of overly friendly strangers who approach you on the street. Always negotiate prices before you agree to anything.
Okay, and if something feels off, trust your gut.
Yes, definitely.
Better to walk away than to get caught in a spam.
For sure.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of important information here.
I think so.
Before we wrap up, I want to talk about responsible tourism.
Okay.
It's more important than ever these days to travel consciously and to minimize our impact on the environment
Right,
and the local communities.
for sure.
What are some ways that we can do that in Thailand?
Even small actions can make a big difference. Choose eco-friendly accommodations whenever possible.
Yep.
Support local businesses and restaurants.
Right?
Be mindful of your waste, especially single-use plastic.
That's a big one, especially on islands where waste management can be a challenge.
It is, yeah.
What else?
Bring your own reusable water bottle, shopping bag, even straws. And, when you're exploring the beaches and the reefs, be respectful of the marine environment. Avoid touching the coral. Don't chase marine life. And choose reef-safe sunscreen,
Okay.
one that doesn't have harmful chemicals.
Those are great tips.
Yeah.
What about bargaining? Is that considered acceptable in Thailand?
Bargaining is super common, especially at markets, with tuk-tuk drivers.
Okay.
It's part of the culture, but do it respectfully.
Okay.
Start by offering a lower price than what you're willing to pay, and be prepared to walk away if you can't agree.
Oh, yeah.
Always be friendly and polite.
So it's almost like as much about the interaction
Yeah.
as it is about the actual price.
For sure.
If you're not comfortable haggling, though, there are plenty of places
Uh-huh.
with set prices.
Lots of fixed price shops and restaurants.
So you can just, skip the negotiation process altogether.
Totally.
I think we covered everything our listeners need to know to plan a safe, responsible, and amazing trip to Thailand's islands.
I think so.
From choosing the right sea to navigating the cultural nuances to protecting the environment, we've covered it all.
I think we did a good job.
I hope our listeners are feeling inspired and ready to book their tickets.
I hope so.
Any final words of wisdom?
Thailand is truly a magical destination. It's got something for everyone. So do your research, plan your trip, but be open to the unexpected.
Yeah.
Embrace that adventure, connect with the people, and create some memories that will last a lifetime.
That's what it's all about.
That's it.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive into Thailand's islands.
Sad to see it go.
Until next time,
Yeah.
happy travels, everyone.
Happy travels!